Welcome to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host. If you're tuning in for the first time, thank you. I appreciate your attention and your interest in this topic because I love all of these topics that I do on this show. And if you know nothing about me or this show, just quickly, I am the host of the Fit to Love podcast. Fit to Love, physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness for the happy life you deserve. It's a 6-day-a-week audio and video podcast, which covers all different themes from exercise to paleo and gluten and dairy-free cooking to alternative medicine to psychology to spirituality, which is what today's show is, and then relationships. And what I realized in the first season of doing the Fit to Love podcast is that each day of the week could be its own show. So here we are with Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, which was born out of Freedom Fridays. And of course, everything connects back to health, wellness, weight loss, happiness, and love and self-care. And the topic of law of attraction is pretty huge for me. And I cover a lot of it in Freedom Fridays. And so I'll be covering a lot of it here in Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. And I hope you enjoy today's show. Today's show, the law of attraction in business. So we have a very large topic at hand, and I'm going to make it very simple by only trying to focus on the idea of action today. I hope you've listened to how the law of attraction really works on a past show, on a past Freedom Friday. And if you haven't, it might be a good time to stop this now and go back because there's some really good information that can be applied here and make for a deeper learning situation. But I'm bringing you this show today out of being inspired while I was rollerblading yesterday. And I would recommend for all people, not just because I do exercise as a living as well as the show, I'd like to recommend that when you do cardiovascular exercise, you get your conscious mind out of the way. So your subconscious mind and your connection to source and your higher being can tell you the answers to the questions that you have. All the problems and the dramas and whatever it is you're trying to figure out, it's there, but you're too busy with that conscious mind focusing on the problem. So I usually tell business owners as well as anybody who's looking for a creative outlet to go do your cardiovascular by yourself. Do your cardiovascular exercise. You can even have something in your ears. That's when I always get it. I'm listening to music and I'm moving. And so all of this conscious mind, it's completely busy. So all of a sudden when I get a thought, it's usually a really great thought and a great idea. And so this idea came to me yesterday because I was struggling with the show topic and wanting to talk about law of attraction and trying to figure out it's such a huge topic. And I manifested the perfect contrast last week when I heard yet again another business coach make fun of law of attraction. This show will benefit you whether or not you work for yourself. If you don't work for yourself and you're part of a corporation or you just have an employer, some of the principles that we're going to talk about today can help you make more money, get a better position, affect how people interact with you, things that happen to you, that flow to you. So don't check out if you hear me talk about things that are not in your environment currently. I know a lot of people that work for a corporation don't have business coaches, but if you can come with me on the journey, I promise that there'll be something for you at the end. So I was at an event recently and heard a business coach talk about law of attraction. Now, she was a little bit nicer about it than some people are, but the way that it gets pitched and positioned, it's, they're sort of making fun of it like a woo-woo thing, law of attraction, as if people who do law of attraction sit in a room all day with their legs crossed, oming, and expect money to fall into their lap. It's not really how it works. When I hear a business coach talk about law of attraction in a negative way, it tells me one of two things. One, you either really have no idea about law of attraction, really, like you don't understand it, because that's a very elementary thing to say, or you're using it as leverage to activate fear in people that they're doing something wrong, and so that you can get them as a client. And I think it was a combination of both recently, but the law of attraction, if you've listened to the last show, isn't a belief system. The law of attraction is a law. It's like gravity. It is always working, whether you're aware of it or not. The difference is when you're aware of it, you get to be deliberate in your attraction. You get to be deliberate in adjusting your vibration and frequency. You get to be deliberate about wondering what your beliefs are and maybe changing them because what you currently believe is activating a point of attraction in you that keeps getting you these things you don't want. The topic today we're going to focus on is action. So I noticed that in these business arenas, this left brain, and they're not all left brain, but left brain being that analytical, structured, masculine part, people will bring in law of attraction as you're one of those woo-woo people that do law of attraction. And you don't take strategy seriously. Now, there's a lot of right brain people that don't do strategy, and they're absolutely correct. If you are a very creative, artistic, sensitive, expression-oriented person who loves to create, you may not have strategy. Left brain activities might not be something you like or embrace or practice or ask for help with. So in that way, they'd be accurate. You do need to take action and to have a strategy. But here's the difference. For people who are taking action for action only, meaning you just think you need to be in action, what does that belief say? That belief says that in order for me to be successful, in order for me to attract what I want, I have to be doing. The problem with the doing is that it ignores the being. And the being part of you is the attracting part of you. The action, it could be the best plan in the world, but if the underbelly, the undercurrent, the chi, if you will, of the action or the feeling underneath the doing is still going to dominate what happens at the end. You may be able to produce your way to get something done, but does it have leverage? Does it tap into the power that creates worlds? Does it have a life force of its own because it's in connection with who you really are? Does it serve the world and the planet the way that you want it to because it's in alignment with it? Or does it just take a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and exhaustion? I'm not saying that hard work can't be fun and that isn't necessary at times. It's the idea of where is the fuel coming from? What is the idea or belief that is fueling the action? So I'm going to take a step back and tell you a little bit about myself if you haven't learned about me in the way of law of attraction, in the way of being left-right brained. I've been in business for myself since 2001, and I will say that I learned out of habit to come from fear. I had family to deal with who wondered what I was doing and if I had enough money to survive. I had bills to pay, and I was surrounded by entrepreneurs who mostly weren't really successful. A lot of them were mildly successful, and I learned from their behavior that in order to be successful, I had to work real hard and struggle. And because I didn't know any different, I mean, I had never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur. The reason I started my business was so that I could do everything I wanted to do. I started out acting and performing and singing and dancing, literally activating the whole right side of my brain for the first 21 years of my life. It wasn't until I started learning about personal training and the sciences involved, the biomechanics and the anatomy and the physiology and the biochemistry and mechanics, that I really start to activate and use my left brain in a way that I was really proud of and that I was really happy about. In fact, I grew up thinking I wasn't that smart. Science and math, I wasn't really good at them. They didn't intrigue me. I wasn't interested. I never connected. I was the kid taking 6 English courses my senior year of high school because I loved poetry and writing and all the different English courses that I could take. Because words and communication, that's not funny now. But back then, I didn't know this is where I'd be today. I had no idea. But I allowed what I attracted to answer the deeper desire that I had for myself that I wasn't even aware of. And at every stage and at every turn, everything that happens to you and everything you attract is just information for you to go, oh, do I want this? No. Okay, what do you want? It helps you to fine tune and to make decisions about what you really want. And if you don't know what you want, you're going to keep attracting probably what you don't want until you figure it out. And sometimes law of attraction gives you exactly what you want when you don't even know. You weren't even aware. It just sort of magically happens because it's not really magic, but it can look that way. So I grew up very right-brained, and activated my left brain and felt really smart. In fact, I got to the place where I was creating the personal training programs for a major gym chain on the East Coast. I was in charge. I was hiring the trainers to help me teach the courses. I was creating the curriculum. I was passing and failing students. I was teaching people 3 times my age. I was 21 years old and director of education. I had people in my classes that were 40 years old with their arms crossed looking at me like, well, who the hell are you? Who are you to be teaching me personal training? Who are you, young woman with not bodybuilder body, teaching me with my big bicep arms about personal training? And it taught me such great lessons. I started every class with questions. I'd say, hi, welcome to the class, and today we're going to talk about the pectoralis major. How many of you know what joint does it originate on, or what bones? Where does it insert? What fiber direction does it have? What joints does it cross? And what action does it take when it's contracted? And they looked at me like I was speaking a different language, at which point I would then earn the respect of having some information. Now, I didn't know everything back then, of course, not that everyone knows anything, everything, anytime in your life, but I knew a little bit more than a lot of them because I was actually studying science. And a lot of trainers don't study science because they're athletes, or they're just genetically well built, or they've lost a lot of weight and they get really inspired and they just follow the guru in the gym and they mimic all those motions, but they actually really don't study science. So when I started studying science, I became very left brain, and I was using that part of myself. Now, I integrated art and dancing and even singing, I think, at some point, and creativity, because I started to feel the desire to have that into my life. So let's fast forward to I have my own business, and I have my own business because I wanted to do both. I wanted to do entertainment, fun things, creative body, dancing, acting, singing with my creativity, and I wanted to be able to manage my schedule. I wanted to take that left brain part of me. No gym was going to allow me, first of all, was going to pay me what I thought I was worth and allow me the flexibility to do both. So that's how I started, and I ended up franchising a home-based personal training business from New York City that I was working for in New York City when I was there. So here's how JJ started the business. So I had no idea how to show up. I knew how actors behaved. They sort of were a little bit desperate and always wanting to get hired and wondering, how do I audition to be this part so that I can get hired, so I can get paid? When's my big break coming? There is a lot of, and while I don't miss that process, I now realize that, at least for me, and I did see it in a lot of others, there's a lot of victim mentality in that. It's not a very good place to learn empowerment. You absolutely can do it, but it's when you're just starting out and you don't have that confidence behind you of having big projects, you're giving up your power by saying, please hire me, let me perform for you and twist myself in many different ways so that you'll hire me because I need money. And in the meantime, I'm going to go work a job I hate, which is waiting tables, which I did, and I didn't hate it, but I didn't want to do it, which is why I started my own business. So now I come into this environment where I'm looking at other people in their business, and I'm seeing struggle. I'm hearing people talk about struggle. I'm hearing people talk about financial struggle. So what do I think? Well, that's normal. So I guess that's how it's supposed to be. Okay. And I guess you're going to have to take action. In order to get anything, you have to take action. Okay, take action, take action, take action. So that's what I learned. Well, I started studying law of attraction somewhere around 2001, 2002. And it wasn't until 2011 that I really realized, at the very deepest level of my being, I wasn't living it. Now, I had every year got deeper and deeper and got better and better and used it in different ways and was aware of it and did my best to be deliberate about what I was attracting, but I wasn't trusting it. Because when I produced Fit to Love, I relied on action without understanding that at the underneath of that action, that belief, because what I was hoping that Fit to Love would do for me the first time around was going to end all struggle. It was going to be the biggest thing that I could do. It was going to get me TV spots. I was going to be on and it did get me a TV spot. I was on NBC. But it was going to catapult me to a place where I would have greater ease. But how I was trying to get there was through basically killing myself. I produced a book in 3 months. I had a great team of people, and everything fell into place pretty effortlessly. I manifested a great business partner who was also an investor. So it looked on the outside like everything was happening at the right time. And it felt really good. It felt really exciting to be doing something I was really passionate about, something I really loved, something that represented who I am almost entirely. My whole idea of why I even do what I do. There are trainers and coaches out there, more trainers and coaches though, that focus on what you look like. I'll never forget, I had a friend who finally met my mom, and she said to my mother, she goes, "Oh, you're skinny." And my mother said, "Oh, why, thank you." And I looked at this friend and thought, what the heck was that? And I realized it's because I had been talking about hiring my parents a trainer. And I wanted to hire my parents a trainer so that they would stay strong and have muscle and build their bone and age optimally. It had nothing to do with their weight. And I looked at her and I said, "How shallow do you think I am?" And of course, we're not friends any longer. That was a long time ago. That was probably 14 years ago. But it was one of those, wow, I didn't even get that some people would perceive that I hired a trainer for my parents because I am embarrassed or have shame around what they look like. That isn't who I am. But I'm in an industry that is focused on what you look like. And looks are important, but I think only to you. If you've watched some of my videos recently, I've had a little ego battle, but I've said, you know what, this is who I am. On a couple of the videos, I'm bent down, and so it looks like I've got a roll in my front of my stomach. And if you see me, I have a pretty flat stomach. It's not the leanest it could be right now, but it's pretty flat. I don't roll. If I was vain, I'd tell them to cut that out. But I was like, you know what? Whatever. You either like me or you don't like me. Maybe this is the show. I've been waiting to say that, and I never knew what show to put it into. So this is the show. I get it. If you like me, great. This is who I am. And I like who I am, and I know I'm not for everybody. So if you're still with me and you like me, cool. We can be in a community together. If you don't like me, this would be the time to get out. So I produced this book and really hoped that it was going to give me relief. I was looking for relief. So what does that say? I'm not trusting the process. That I'm using my left brain energy in a way that's really about fear and not trust, and out of alignment in a way because I'm not trusting. And what did it get me? It got me what I wanted, what I paid for, what we worked towards, which is I got a bestseller status on Amazon.com. But then in order to keep the book going, it needed more money, more time, more effort. And it does. Every project needs all of those things, but I wasn't getting the support I needed, and I didn't feel the energetic connection that this was the right time for that book. So at some point in time, I made peace with releasing that. And around October of 2011, I got an email from one of the coaches that I used to mentor with, and it was on the list. And that was like the first person that kind of really made fun of law of attraction in the, you need to hire me and be on my mastermind programs because law of attraction is not going to put money in your bank account if you're not taking action. And I was like, you know what? I don't agree with you. I don't really want any other part of your life. I don't want to be like you in any other way except your bank account. And that's coming from fear. Law of attraction also says that anything that you want, you only want it because you think you will feel better when you have it. Let me repeat that. Law of attraction states that the only reason you want anything that you want, money, love from another person, a house, whatever. The only reason you want that thing is because you think you'll feel better when you have it. But you can feel better now without it. In fact, it won't keep you feeling good very long. Once you get it, if you get it, you will feel good, and then what? It probably won't last. You will want something else. The use of law of attraction, the deliberate paying attention to law of attraction, is about directing your thoughts and your feelings into a place that feels good, being connected with who you are, having that trust in yourself and in divine timing and creator, and then attracting from that place. I mean, you attract out of alignment. Yes, when you're out of alignment, you attract bad things, period. And those bad things can either help serve you in a good way by redirecting you to look forward. Abraham gives a great example of driving. So when you're in your car, you're looking forward to where you're going. You're not driving and looking in the rearview mirror of where you were. If you're pulling forward and beating the drum of where you've been and constantly talking about where you are, where you are, where you are, you're going to keep staying where you are. Looking forward, where are you going? What do you want? How will that feel? And then how can you visualize that and feel that now without that thing? Because all you really want is to feel better anyway. So when it comes to taking action, I'm going to give you some steps, but the bottom line is when it comes to taking action, the best action you're going to take is when you're in alignment with who you are and when you have trust. Unless you want to produce and produce and produce and produce and produce and produce and produce for the rest of your life. If you think everything is hard work and that's the way it's going to be, then that's exactly what you're going to attract. I know, I trust, I see it, that there is a leverage to be had, and some people are accessing that. You've probably accessed it somewhere else in your life and don't even know it. So I'm going to take a break to thank our sponsors, but when we come back, we're going to talk about how and when to act. Do you love listening to audiobooks? Or do you think you'd read more if you could listen to them? Well, for you listeners, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. With over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. To download your free audiobook today, go to fit2lovebook.com. That's FIT, the number 2, LOVE, book.com to get your free audiobook with your free 30-day trial to Audible. If you're unhappy with your trial and you don't want to continue, you get to cancel before the 30 days are over and keep your free audiobook. It is 100% risk-free. So go to fit2lovebook.com, that's FIT, the number 2, LOVE, BOOK.com to get your free audiobook today. So, I am not saying that action is bad. Action is good. What first has to come into play is how you're feeling. Law of Attraction gives you a guidance system, which is your emotions. How are you feeling? What are you believing? What are you thinking about this? Is this in alignment? Is this an extension of you being in a really, really, really good place emotionally and connected to who you are and calm and trusting and sure-footed? Or are you taking action based on discomfort, on fear, and on trying to find relief in the future? Right there, the bottom line of whether it's going to work or not work is where it's coming from. Because when you need it to work, it won't work. Because when you need it to work, that's anxiety. That's fear-based. So in order for you as an entrepreneur, one of the things that I think I've talked about this on one other show, I used to read Entrepreneur Magazine when I first started. And I love that magazine, but when I first started, I was making to-do lists. The very left brain part of me was like, oh, I'm going to make a to-do list of all the different ideas and business things I want to do. I kid you not, because I have a very creative brain. I would go 5 pages in and have 3 pages of to-dos. I'd have new business ideas, new contact ideas, new product ideas. I'd get so excited about all these ideas, and then I would think I would need to carry them out. After probably 3 years of doing that, because it caused so much anxiety, because I couldn't keep up. It was not humanly possible to keep up with the amount of ideas that I had. I stopped reading Entrepreneur Magazine and I stopped making to-do lists. My life got happier and my life got better. For you entrepreneurs out there, every idea you have is not going to be the right idea. It's just an idea. Write it down and see if it inspires you the same way in 2 weeks. See if you're in the right timing for that idea. If it's the right time to pull it forward or the right players ready. So years ago, I had a friend and she had a business. She had multiple businesses. One she'd been doing for like 15 years, and it was not that it was effortless, but it worked and it continued to work. And this new business wasn't really working. And at some point I said, well, why don't you just do this business like you do that business? Why don't you make it the same thing with just a different hat? And when she did that, it flowed. It was easy. Things unfolded. She was profitable within the first 2 months. When there's an ease and a connection and it's the right idea, you're going to know. You're going to be that surfer on the wave, riding the wave in. So here's how to use action to actually make a big difference in your life. First of all, when you have the idea, ask yourself, did that idea come from fear? Am I focused on the outcome of the idea, or am I excited by the creation of the idea? That's the first question to ask. And obviously, if you're thinking of the outcome that the idea could produce, then that is anxiety and fear. If you are just excited about the creation of the idea and how that can affect others, regardless of the income, regardless of the business plan that unfolds after that, having all that would be great. But just ask yourself that question. Secondly, if you have all of your ideas from anxiety and you don't know how to stop that, I would recommend meditating. I would recommend dancing. I would recommend exercise. And put yourself into a state where your body is moving, you've got all those systems working, and then allow the answer to just come to you. Allow that thought or idea, that brilliant thing, to just translate from your higher being or your subconscious mind into your conscious mind while you're busy keeping quiet all of the chatter of your conscious mind. Next, if you are like me and you get a lot of ideas, write them down. Some of the ideas will be great, and some of the ideas you won't feel as strongly about in a week or two. Don't act on every idea, because not every idea is going to work. And also ask yourself, is it the right time for this idea? This is why this show is happening now, and my second version of Fit to Love is coming out next year. I went to a workshop about a new book. I took this new book idea to this workshop. Fit to Love was on the shelf, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I wasn't paying any attention to it. None. I said, I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to wait, because I can't force divine timing. I can't force timing of my vision with the energy of the universe. So I'm at this workshop. I learned about podcasting, which I had known about, had heard about, but didn't really understand. Then I was explained what was possible with podcasting, and I thought, oh, I can do that. And as soon as I thought, well, I just need a hook. What's the hook? Because the guy who I heard, the first person who told me about it, his hook was really good. And it was all encompassing. And I thought, that's great. See, I have Invisible Fitness as a company of mine, but Invisible Fitness, because of the word fitness, really doesn't allow for the relationship part, doesn't allow for a lot of the other things that I wanted to bring to you. So I'm researching online, I'm looking for hooks, I'm thinking, what's the umbrella where I get to talk about all this stuff? And of course, after maybe 24, 48 hours, I was like, oh, of course, duh, Fit to Love. So now I bring it forward. And then at this workshop, there's an offer for publishing. And I'm thinking of this new book, yet I'm realizing, no, this would be perfect timing to do a second publishing. It would be less expensive than the first time. It would be exactly with the company I want to be with. It just made sense. Everything fell into place. It was perfect divine timing. And I went to this workshop for a different project. But because I went open-minded and trusting and open to whatever was going to happen, and I've been practicing being deliberate about my thoughts and my feelings and using law of attraction, it was perfect. It's always working. Law of attraction is not about oming and wishing and hoping without action. Law of attraction says keep your energy, hold on to your energy, protect your energy, and only act when something is so powerfully motivating in you and inspiring that it cannot be acted upon. That's when you take action. You take action when every part of your being knows it's the right time. But if you're taking action just to take action because you think you need to be busy and doing a million things, you probably will be very, very tired and not necessarily happy with the results at the end. Or along the way, you're going to compromise some other aspects of your life that may not be pleasing to you. Law of attraction is not about not taking action. Law of attraction is about taking inspired action. Tapping into who you really are at your highest vibration, at your strongest connection with the non-physical part of who you are. with being that surfer, getting on that wave that's going to ride you in smoothly. You'll have to do a little work along the way, but you're in connection with the universe. I'd love to hear your feedback on the show. Come on over to fittolove.tv. I thank you, those of you that have been listening and have given me some ratings on iTunes. I appreciate that as well. Would love that. But if you and I don't know each other personally and you do a rating for me on iTunes, come on over to the site, would you please, and say it again so I can talk with you, so we can have a conversation and I can thank you for that. Because on iTunes, I can't comment and say thanks. I can just say, yes, that comment helped me. So I appreciate that you're here with me. I want to know you. I want to help you in any way I can, inspire you, remind you of who you really are, so you're not out there just taking action and running yourself into the ground and not living the life that you know you can. So have a great weekend. Thank you again for tuning in to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. If you're inspired and want more, come on over to fittolove.tv and check out our Freedom Fridays, or find us on iTunes. More at Fit to Love, physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness for the happy life you deserve.